Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Gathering the Magic. Today we're looking at a $75 budget Myrkul Lord of Bones deck tech. From Commander Legends 2, this 7/5 god has indestructible if your life total is less than or equal to half of your starting life total. And whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile it. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an enchantment that loses all other card types. This deck is all about draining our own life, getting out Myrkul, turning our creatures into enchantments, creating a butt ton of value and overwhelming our opponents to get that victory royale. Now, let's get right into this budget brew. As we love to do on this channel, we're starting off the deck tech hot with all of that ramp. First on up is Cultivate and Kadama's Reach to both search your library for a basic land card, putting one onto the field tapped and the other into our hand. There's Farseek to search our library for a plains or swamp, putting it onto the field tapped, and Rampant Growth to search our library for a basic land, putting it onto the field tapped. We've got Budget Breaker 3 Visits to search our library for a basic forest, putting it onto the field untapped. And Harrow, first sacking a land but allowing us to search our library for 2 basic lands, putting them both onto the field tapped. Now we do have lots more ramp in this deck, but they fall better into the latter part of the video when we're going sacking crazy. There's Arcane Signet to add 1 mana of any colour in our commander's colour identity. And finally, we have Soul Ring, because Soul Ring. Before we get into our self-life drain, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe down below for all things MTG. Subscribing is completely free to do and it helps our channel grow and grow. Also, if you're buying cards, make sure to sign up to Card Market and use our referral code to also help support the channel. You love to see it. So now we're looking at all of those ways to get us to half our life total as soon as possible. First on up we have Mana Dork Elves of Deep Shadow that we can tap for a swamp and it does 1 damage to us. An Underworld Coinsmith, this is whenever it or another enchantment ETBs, you gain 1 life, with that extra ability to pay a life and make each opponent lose a life. There's classic black staple Feed the Swarm to destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls, with you losing life equal to that permanent's mana value. And Bolas's Citadel that allows you to look at the top card of your library anytime. You can cast spells from the top of your library. If you do, you pay life equal to that card's mana value rather than pay its mana cost. All these cards work so well as they not only lose us life, but also help grow our board or destroy our opponents. We've got Painful Truths to lose X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of colours of mana spent to cast it. And Stinging Study to draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the mana value of your commander. Finally, we have Read the Bones and Sign in Blood to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, with Read the Bones also allowing you to scry 2. Now we're at 20 life, let's have a look at all of those cards Myrkul can't wait to exile. Starting off first with some rampy creatures, there's Avacyn's Pilgrim to add a plains to your mana pool, and Devoted Druid to tap and add a forest. You can put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid to untap it. This card exiled is key to unlimited mana. Myrkul turns it into an enchantment, therefore you can keep putting -1/-1 counters on the Druid and it never dies. That is what we call devilishly disgusting. There's Diligent Farmhand that we can sack and put a basic land card into play tapped, and Elvish Mystic that we can tap to add a forest to our mana pool. We've got Steve to sack and put a basic land into play tapped, and Sanctum Weaver to add X mana of any colour, where X is the amount of enchantments you control. Having these mana loving creatures are key. Get them out, sack them, exile them with Myrkul, and boom, they're mana loving enchantments that will be much harder to remove from the game. There's Elvish Rejuvenator that when ETBs look at the top 5 cards of your library, putting a land from among them onto the field tapped, and another 1-drop forest loving Mana Dork in Findhorn Elves. We've got yet another with Llanowar Elves and Nessian Wanderer. This is whenever an enchantment ETBs into your control, look at the top 3 cards of your library, putting a land from among them straight into your hand. For the final 2 bits of future enchantment rampy creatures, there's Yavimaya Granger that when ETBs you can search your library for a basic land, putting it onto the field tapped. And Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, this is tokens you control can tap for a swamp. Speaking of token makers, we have Ajani's Chosen that creates you a 2/2 cat token whenever an enchantment ETBs under your control. An Archon of Sun's Grace to give you a 2/2 flying Pegasus token whenever an enchantment ETBs under your control. Those Pegasus also have lifelink. After losing life to get Myrkul going, we need ways to get us some more life. We have Cruel Celebrant, this is whenever it or another creature we control dies, each opponent loses a life and we gain life, and another classic in Zulaport Cutthroat that does exactly the same. We have another Gain and Drain classic in Blood Artist, and moving on to card draw, there's Eidolon of Blossoms, this is whenever it or another enchantment ETBs under your control, draw a card. We have Grim Haruspex to draw us a card whenever one of our non-token creatures bites the dust, and Cetescent Champion, this is whenever an enchantment ETB is under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. Next is Barrington Medic, that says you can tap to prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. Again, with that -1/-1 counter to untap strategy going so well here because it can be turned into an enchantment, so no damage for you. And El Said of Life's Bounty, that you can sack to give target creature or enchantment you control protection from the colour of your choice until end of turn. For more protection we have Windborn Muse, this is creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. And for some evil plays we have Gissa, Glorious Resurrector, that says if a creature would die, exile it instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, put all creature cards exiled by Gissa onto the field under your control, gaining Decayed. We've got Thought Reader Lamia, that says whenever it or another enchantment ETBs under your control, each opponent discards a card. And Cinder Haze Wretch, that you can tap to make target player discard a card. Another perfect card as an enchantment that you can keep untapping, putting counters onto your heart's content and make your opponents have no hand. With 36 creatures in this deck, there is an endless amount of options of cards that we can really benefit turning them into enchantments. We have Destiny Spinner, that says creatures and enchantment spells you cast can't be countered. You can also pay and turn a land into a big beefy elemental. And Foundation Breaker, that when ETBs destroy target artifact or enchantment, with this card also being able to be evoked. When Myrkul is out on the floor, we need those ways to get those creatures straight into the graveyard. First one up is Carrion Feeder for a free sack outlet, plus when a creature is sacked you put a 1/1 counter on it. And Dimir Houseguard for another free sack outlet that also regenerates it, with that secondary transmute option. We've added in Dockside Chef to pay and sack an artifact or creature to draw a card, and another free sack outlet in Viscera Seer that also scries us a card when that creature is sacrificed. For the final 2 there is Woe Strider, the ETBs creating you a 0/1 goat token, also allowing us to sack a creature and scry 1. And Sadistic Hypnotist to let us sack creatures and also make target player discard 2 cards from their hand. That is some dirty stuff. Before finishing up with the lands, we're looking at the best of the rest in this budget brew. First on up is Cleansing Nova to destroy all creatures or destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and Depopulate that says each player who controls a multicolour creature draws a card, then destroy all creatures. There is Dune Blast to choose up to 1 creature, destroying the rest, and Wrath of God to destroy all creatures. Having a handful of board wipes in this deck is key. Our creatures will hopefully be enchantments, so they'll stay on the field, gaining us value, while our opponents are forced to reset their board. We've got Deadly Dispute that we have to sack an artifact or creature to cast, then letting us draw 2 cards and creating a treasure token. And Rite of Harmony to draw us a card whenever a creature or enchantment ETBs under our control this turn, with that beloved flashback option. For some commander protection we have Snakeskin Veil to put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, giving it hexproof until end of turn. And Tamio's Safekeeping to give target creature you control hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, gaining you 2 life. There's Trusty Swiftfoot Boots to give equipped creature hexproof and haste, and Abzan Ascendancy that puts a 1/1 counter on target creature when it ETBs, and when a non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 White Spirit creature token with flying. On to the final 3 cards is Evolutionary Leap for 1 final sacking option with that pod style effect to get another creature into your hand. A Moldavine Reclamation to gain you a life and draw you a card whenever a creature you control dies. Rounding up here with Sphere of Safety, that says creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control. As always, we're rounding off this budget brew with all of those lands. Starting off with the basics here, we have 13 Forest, 10 Swamp and 7 Plains, as this deck leans slightly towards that green mana base. We have a huge budget breaker in Brushland to add 1 colourless or either Selesnya options at the cost of 1 damage to you, and Classic Staple Command Tower to add any of those Abzan colours. We want to lose life, so we've added in Caves of Koilos, again to add colourless or pay to add black or white, dealing 1 damage to ourselves. And Llanowar Wastes to do exactly the same, but getting those Golgari options. Finally, we have Grim Backwards to add a colourless, or have as a secondary creature sacrifice card draw option. And High Market to add colourless, or yet again, another free sacrifice option, also gaining us a life. Myrkul is a really cool new commander, and honestly it's one that I think could very easily become a popular and really powerful option in the near future. Watch this space. There we have it, that is the Myrkul $75 budget deck tech. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.